Hey guys, this is TURKSTYX here with a video on Enhancement Shaman PvP for 4.3 Cataclysm. A few notes off the bat. I realized that my gear is not the best and I do not have a 2200 arena rating. I don't think I need that shit to be able to help people who are just starting out and, tell them, give them some pointers and stuff. And another purpose that I'm putting up this video is in case I am giving out wrong information or I am already doing something wrong, something could be improved. I want the community to tell me, like, hey, this is what's up, you need to make this better, yada yada yada, whatever. Anyways, with that out the way, this video is going to cover your talent build, your stats, and at the end I want to talk a little bit about your cooldowns and what you got, and kind of like a quote rotation almost for damage. So without further ado, let's get started with your talents. The specific talent build is one that I sort of use when I'm out in Battlegrounds. It's a very popular one for Enhancement Shaman when they're out on their own. I'm just going to kind of go down each list and read out what I have and why I have it, and any different kind of deviations or changes to the spec I will post in the description down below. Have some talent calculators from Wildhead, and I'll have little descriptions written up for each one, when you would use it and how you would use it, yada yada yada. Alright, without any further ado, let's get started. Elemental weapons 2 out of 2. This basically makes it so that all your weapon enchantments are improved by 40%, and damage from your Wind Fury weapon is from extra attacks from your Wind Fury weapon are increased by 40%, and the effectiveness of your Unleash elements, is increased by 50%. Every Shaman needs this, so get it. Focus Strikes increases the damage dealt by your Primal Strike and Storm Strike abilities by 45%. You obviously need this as an Enhancement Shaman, so Storm Strike is your primary attack. Flurry increases your attack speed by 30% for the next 3 swings after dealing a crit. You're going to be critting a lot, and I'll cover it again once I get to Storm Strike, but you're going to be critting almost all the time, so you will almost always have this buff going. So you never really need to worry about investing in much of this. You never need to worry about downtime in between your swings, since in between all your cooldowns you will be getting speed increases to your attack speed, and thus there won't be any, quote, dead time. Ancestral Swiftness, 2 out of 2. This is crucial for PvP. Almost every single PvP Shaman I know has this ability. Unless, of course, they're running with a very specific team build. Other than that, especially if you're soloing, you absolutely need this. It makes your Ghost Wolf instant cast, and your general movement speed is increased by 15%. Storm Strike. This is one of your main abilities, your main source of burst. It's on an 8-second cooldown, and it deals 326 weapon damage, plus it leaves a debuff on the target for 15 seconds that makes it so you have a 35% chance, an additional 35% chance, to crit with a Lightning Bolt or Chain, Lightning Shield, and Earth Shock. You're going to be dealing damage with with a Lightning Shield when they hit you, so there's that. You're going to be shocking and lightning bolting like crazy when you have Maelstrom procs or the shock is off the cooldown. So whenever you have a downtime when the Flame Shock is up and you got 5-stack Maelstrom, I usually just launch an Earth Shock and a Lightning Bolt, but we'll cover that later. Static Shock. This makes it so that every time you deal damage with your Lava Lash or Storm Strike, you have a 45% chance to deal damage equal to a Lightning Shield orb without consuming the charge. Basically, this augments your strike abilities, and with the additional Lightning Orb charge without consuming it. So if you're kiting damage successfully, then you'll have your shield going, and even if your shield falls off, you can replenish it. And whenever your Lightning Shield is up, your strikes deal a little bit of extra damage. Toughness, I put 1 out of 3 in this just so I could move on to the next tier. The reason I didn't put this in, say, Totemic Reach or Elemental Devestation, is because this is, as I mentioned earlier, this is a solo battlegrounding kind of spec, one that I use when I'm out on my own in Battlegrounds and not with any particular team. So I need some kind of survivability, otherwise probably in an arena setting, I would have expected a totemic reach just to make it so that I could help my teammates out should they be feared or something. But that 10% decrease to the duration of movement slowing effects is nice, so it's a good talent to be considered. It's just be wary and don't put too much in there. Frozen power. This makes it so that if a target is 15 yards or further away from you, your frost shock will snare them, and it makes it so that if you have a frost brand debuff going up on a target, it increases the damage done by your lightning bolt, chain lightning, and lava lash, and shock spells by 10%. I know a lot of shamans switch out their Wind Fury weapon enhancement for a frost brand enhancement. You know, they're able to switch it out successfully when they're about to hit with a lava lash or something. I don't really do that. I just keep my enhancements as they are, but you can always look up other shaman who explain how to do this or who can do this. But most of the shaman that I personally looked up when I was researching at first didn't really talk about it or go into details, and any guys that mentioned it weren't very detailed about it either, so it's up to you. If you feel you can learn it, then all the power to you. If not, it's not going to kill you. Searing Flames. Causes your searing bolts from your searing totem to have a 100% chance to set the target aflame, dealing damage equal to the searing bolt's impact damage over 15 seconds and stacks up to 5 times. This dot becomes essential for when you get improved lava lash, and basically for each stack of the searing flames debuff, you get a 20% damage increase to your lava lash. So you will absolutely need these two talents filled out. Earthen Power, 2 out of 2. It makes it so that each time your Earthbind totem ticks, you remove snares from you and your friendly targets. Shamanistic Rage reduces all damage taken by 30% and causes your skills, totems, and offensive spells to cause no mana for 15 seconds. This spell is usable while stunned. Unleashed Rage increases your expertise by 8% and increases all party and raid members' melee attack power by 20% and range attack power by 10% within 100 yards of the shaman. Basically, when you move to the higher end gear and you're getting a bit more expertise out of the secondary stats, you're not going to need to reforge into expertise. This will take care of itself. Maelstrom Weapon. When you deal damage with a melee weapon, you have a chance to reduce your cast time of your next Lightning Bolt, Chain Lightning, Hex, or Healing spell by 20% and reduce your mana cost by 20% as well. This stacks up to 5 times. So basically at 5 stacks you get a free cast that's free of mana. I already talked about Improved Lava Lash, and then last but not least, an enhancement tree, Feral Spirit. These dogs will be your best friend, and you will love them forever, and you know, they've pulled me out of such sticky situations. I'll talk more about it at the latter end of the guide or even in other videos, but you know, there have been times when I was almost dying, I hopped these guys, and their attacks heal you, plus they can stun someone, and they're a great source of damage for when you're kiting somebody, so these guys are awesome. You will love your wolves once you learn how to use them properly. Going to the elemental tree, the only two talents you really need to invest in here are Concussion and Acuity. As a enhancement shaman, you never have to worry about mana, so you don't really need Convection. I go 3 in Acuity and 2 in the Concussion because, as you notice, a lot of your abilities are dependent on crit, some crits going off, and plus as a PvPer, crit is always a good ability, good secondary stat, to have, so I would invest 3 in Acuity. I only go 2 in Concussion because I don't use Lightning Bolt and Chain Lightning that much, you know, I don't have to wait for a Maelstrom stack to go off for them, so it's better if I find it better to go for the crit. But if you so desire, I guess you could go 3 in Concussion, though I would recommend it. There's not that much of a big difference between 4% and 6%, at least not enough to be noticeable. With 4.3, the cooldown of Wind Shear went from 6 seconds base to a 15 second base cooldown. which means reverberation has pretty much become mandatory. This reduces the cooldown of your wind shear by 10 seconds and your shock spells by 1 second. So you're going to be shocking like crazy anyways, so why not reduce your cooldown of your shock so that you can get some more shocks in there. And with a 5-second wind shear, that's the shortest interrupt in the game, and that's usually enough to make it so that a healer can't get a single spell off. I'll show in another video, but I was putting pressure on a healer and she did not get a single heal off on me while I was attacking her, so that's always nice to have. Lastly, I put my remaining 3 points in Spark of Life. Again, since this is a sort of survivor build, and this talent helps a lot in PvP. It makes your trash heals not so trashy. On your glyphs, these glyphs are pretty much standard. You can't really, let's say you shouldn't really try and negotiate any differences. Maybe the one thing you could change is change your glyph of Stormstrike to the glyph of Wind Fury weapon, which will glyph of Wind Fury weapon makes it so that you have an additional, per swing, have an additional 2% chance to trigger your Wind Fury weapon enhancement, but that's only if you want to. I personally would advise against it, and I would just go glyph of Stormstrike. Glyph of Stormstrike. This makes it so that your crit strike damage bonus is increased by 10%. Feral Spirit, your Spirit Wolves gain an additional 30% of your attack power. This is great for if you have a racial or agility or attack power trinkets. You can macro those two together, and then there you go. You have stronger wolves. Glyph of Lava Lash increases the damage dealt by your Lava Lash by 20%. That's an obvious one. You should obviously take that. Glyph of Stone Cloud Totem. Every single shaman needs this. It's one of their few, if not only, defensive abilities, is the Stone Cloud Totem, which absorbs, I believe it is, 16,572 damage. And that's not just physical, it's any school of damage. So physical, spell, yada yada yada. Glyph of Hex reduces the cooldown of your Hex spell by 10 seconds. I don't know why you wouldn't get this, it's our only CC. And the shorter cooldown, the better. Glyph of Shamanistic Rage. Activating your Shamanistic Rage ability also cleanses you of all dispellable magic debuffs. Definitely go into that one. I know some people prefer, or with their playstyle, they'll like to put in the Glyph of Ghost Wolf or the Glyph of Grounding Totem. I think that's poop. I don't think you should do that, because having a dispel on a 1 minute cooldown is nice. Plus, you pop Shamanistic Rage quite often, and who knows. Just for me, having that dispel is nice, but if you prefer to go something else like Glyph of Frost Shock, for instance, that's a decent one as well, or Glyph of perhaps Fire Nova or Ghost Wolf or whatever, you can. I would say the only reasonable substitute for Glyph of Shamanistic Rage would be Frost Shock, and that's if in your comp you do quite a bit of kiting and you need some extra duration when you're slow. But I prefer to have since I'm speccing more to survival, I go Glyph of Shamanistic Rage, and I don't know if I would ever change it out. It's really up to your playstyle. But the rest of these glyphs you absolutely need. For your minor glyphs, you can do whatever. I would recommend getting Glyph of Renewed Life and Glyph of Water Walking for sure. These will help a lot in battlegrounds and world PvP. Okay. Now that we're done with your talents, let's talk about stats. Your stat priority will go as follows: Hit Cap, Expertise Soft Cap, Mastery, Crit, and then Haste. Haste is the one you want least, so whenever we're reforging, always definitely reforge out of Haste. Your Mastery and Crit should both be relatively high. I would say your crit chance should at base be around, be around 20%. You're going to be getting agility whenever possible. That's going to boost your crit anyway, so you don't need to really reforge into crit, but definitely reforge into mastery. If a piece has a crit on it, it's up to your discretion if you want to take out some crit and put it into mastery, but it's up to you how you're going to even it out. But both your crit and mastery should be as high as possible. Let's see. You always want your Wind Fury weapon on your main hand, and you always want your Flame Tongue on your offhand. As so. When gemming, always put red gems as a pure agility. Under your blue gems, you should put spell penetration to try and hit the soft cap, which I believe is around 190 or 200, something like that. I have 150 right now, and I'm just waiting on my enchanter to get the mat so that I can put a excuse me, a spell pen enchantment on my cloak. But yeah, you want that to be around 190, 200 so that your hex, shocks, any kind of spell doesn't get resisted by those stupid resistance ores and all that crap. And under your yellow sockets, you can choose to go put in green gems and go mastery and stam, or you can go pure mastery, or you can go mastery and agility. It's really all up to you. I tend to go pure mastery just because my crit and agility are both doing quite alright. But yeah, the reason why you want so much mastery is because mastery increases your fire, frost, and nature damage by 39%. Each point of mastery increases it by 2.5%. All your shocks and your lightning abilities, including your lightning shield, all deal fire, frost, and nature damage. Nature damage for your lightning and earth shocks, and frost and fire for your fire and frost damage, respectively. But yeah, what I'm trying to say is whenever your Storm Strike or your Lava Lash, which both deal physical damage, whenever those are on cooldown, you're going to be dealing nature damage, one of those nature damage types all around, whether it be one of your shocks, your Flame Tongue weapon, which deals fire damage when it hits, or your lightning shield taking hits. Alright, so those are your stats. Let's talk a little bit about your, quote, Shaman rotation. What you're gonna want to do is, number one, keep lightning shield up at all times. If you need to refresh it, try and do it at a time when your shocks, your unleash elements, and your strikes are on cooldown and you don't have a 5-stack maelstrom. That is, your kind of dead period, and you can afford to blow an extra GCD there until your other stats come back up. But basically, you're going to run up to your target, you're going to use Unleash Elements, and then you're going to quickly get a Flame Shock up, and once when that is up, you're going to Storm Strike. Totems dropped, either right after you get this opener or at the, before you get to start opening up the target. Anyways, totems down, and then your totem will start building debuffs, and you're gonna kite them. You're gonna get some melee swings off. When you reach 5 stacks, you use your Earth Shock and your Lightning Bolt, and you rinse and repeat. Use Lava Lash whenever Searing Totems reaches 4 to 5 stacks. I wouldn't say go for any less than that. And every time you're reapplying, whenever you reapply Flame Shock, make sure you have Unleash Elements gone off, so that you can get the the extra damage out of it. You pop your Spirit Wolves basically after you made the openers. It's up to you where you choose to do it. I'll usually sometimes I'll play them defensively, where if I'm running away from a target and I just need some backup, I'll call on my wolves and try and create some gap while I get some heals off on me and such. Other shaman prefer to pop them straight at the beginning of a fight, right after they get the opener off. They'll pop the wolves so that when there's a little, quote, dead period, when your shocks and your strikes are on cooldown and you don't have enough searing totem stacks yet, you got your wolves beating out the guy a little bit. That's your basic rotation. Let's actually have a video of you on the target dummy beating at it so that you can see what that would look like. Alright, so here we are at the target dummies. Let's go ahead and put our lightning shield back up. And here we go. Initial elements, flame shock, and Shaman should be down, and we should be beating at this dummy. This is a little inaccurate because in PvP you're going to have to worry about, you know, refreshing your lightning shield whenever it goes off, but for all intents and purposes right now. So you guys get the idea. One note, don't always wait for a 5-stack Maelstrom to launch a hex or something. I'd say don't waste time with trying to get lightning bolts off. So you have a 3-stack of Maelstrom weapon. Don't bother with trying to lightning bolt that. But when you have, let's say you need to cast a quick hex or something and you're only at 3 stacks, don't wait for the 4-stack, just go ahead and use your hex or your heal or whatever you need to use. It's going to be faster and cheaper anyway, so no need to always wait for the 5-stack is what I'm trying to say. I do believe that is all for now. If you have any questions or suggestions and such, please leave them in the comments below. Other than that, I will have another video coming up with some commentary from Battlegrounds and such. Hopefully that'll make things a little easier to understand, make it so that you know when to use your cooldowns and your totems and such. So look out for that. Alright? Good luck with your shamaning and have fun.